You ready, Beverly?
Sir, she just stepped away for it. Here she comes. She's coming back.
Okay.
All righty. Director Chair Leggett and Director Lockett.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. The floor is yours. Oh, I'm sorry, Director. You're on mute.
I'm sorry. It's I call this meeting to order. It's 1:17. On today, this is the Service Delivery Committee, and I want to welcome everybody in. Sorry for our delay, but we're on tap now. We're ready, and we're going to start with our agenda. Our second item is proposed board agenda consent items by committee.
All right. Good afternoon, all board members, the public who listening to us today. Before I say anything, Chairman Leggett, I will send you my special condolences for your loss. I've been there before, and I know how painful it is to lose a loved one. So,
thank you, sir.
We have two proposed board items today. First one is disposal of assets, revenue vehicles, and then the second one is going to be community surplus vehicle donation policy revision and request for submission. And that's application. We did revise our donation policy, and we'll ask the board for approval. I will start first with the item 1, which is the disposal of assets. And we recommend that the board will approve staff for approval of 15 vehicles that we want to dispose of. We have 6 units that is for donation. We have 2 that have no use. I mean, nothing is good about that, so we plan to scrap that off. And then we have 7 for auction, which is I'm gonna go ahead and talk about it in detail. So a little background about that: we have 15 fixed route buses that have exceeded their useful life according to the minimal access useful life standard for access purchase with FTA grant funding. The useful life I will explain. We have 35-foot to 40-foot large heavy-duty transit buses. It's 12 years of 500,000 miles. And at this point, both of them have exceeded that, both 500,000 miles and also useful life. And for the 35-footers, it's 10 years or 350,000 miles. And both of them have exceeded age and mileage. So useful life is defined as the minimal acceptable period a capital access purchase with FTA funds should be used in service. The vehicle is placed in revenue, let me read back. The minimum useful life for rolling stock, such as buses, vans, and ferry boats, is calculated based on the date the vehicle is placed in revenue service and continues until removed. These 15 vehicles all had, if you look at the data at the back, had all date that they were all put on revenue line, and they have all exceeded that 10 years and 12 years and over 500,000 miles. In addition to that, the 2003 and 2006 units are refurbished. So when they're refurbished, that means it gives them a useful life, a standard useful life. We've done that on the 2003 and 2006, and then again, they've also exceeded that additional half-time. So that should have given us 6 years or 7 years from the original mileage that was prescribed, and it has exceeded all. Refurbishment included replacing the engine, transmission, converting the air conditioning from R22 to 134 for greater efficiency. So when that is done, we'll place the brand new engine, suspension, body works and all that to make it brand new. We've done that on the 2003, 2006 units. Were all refurbished, but they all have also exceeded useful life. So on the discussion on that, disposal of these assets will allow CAT to maintain a fleet of safe and reliable working vehicles, and large inventory of environmental sensitive vehicles, and provide additional capacity in a fleet parking lot. Now, these vehicles are all sitting here. They're taking a lot of space, which is one of the reasons, beside the financial impact, that's why we want to take them out and also make room for new ones, because they occupy space. And you can see from later on, I was explaining the benefit of taking those vehicles out from our lot. So consistent with the FTA guideline, staff will dispose of these assets through either auctioning to the higher bidder, disposal through donation to any nonprofit interested in the use of the assets, or disposal as scrap to the dealer of scrap metal. Maybe they can take somebody and do something with it. So the fare boxes, cameras, and clever devices, intelligent transportation system will be removed from all these 15 vehicles. So we can use it for other vehicles, because they are not part of the useful life and over mileage. They are still good to be put on new units. Financial impact. No funding is required for this action. The disposal of these vehicle assets will provide cost savings on insurance, repairs, and maintenance. The vehicles identified are insured for liability only. The annual premium associated with these 15 vehicles, fixed route buses, we would get $164,025, which is calculated as $10,935 per a vehicle. So that is, if these units are removed from the schedule, CAT will receive a prorated return premium for the remainder of the fiscal year, July 1st, 2023 to July 1st, 2024 policy term. So we'll be saving $164,025 just by removing these vehicles from our fleet. And rightful so, because they're over age, over useful life, and also they occupy space. So next step is, if approved, remove assets from revenue service disposed by method indicated on the disposal list through auction, scrap, or donation. And if you can refer to the attachment, the vehicles are identified and also a timeline. If you look at that slide, you're going to see that all those are titled donation, scrap, and auction. And of course, we have a policy. We have also revised our policy, our donation policy, which is also attached to this. So at this point, we propose that the board approve this disposal of assets exceeding useful life to include total of 15 vehicles. And we have identified how the 15 will be disposed of. 6 for donation, 2 for scrap, and 7 for auction for the highest bidder. And that is just part one of our the request for approval. The next part, which is pretty much the policy that we revised, and I don't know if I have to read through all that. We've made some changes, and it's also attached to the document. And I recommend that the board can look at all those disposal. And for the public also joining us today, it's on our website, the steps of how these vehicles will be donated. They'll be advertised by our communication department. And also, let me get my notes here so make sure that we're on the same page. 1 second. So this will be the process of how we're gonna donate these vehicles. Sure. All right, so we're gonna advertise it for 30 days to social media, public notice on, of course, our website. We'll have a committee of 3 from CAT staff. They will be the evaluators to see who meets that donation requirement. And we'll let the board know what are the staff members for that evaluators. The public can also make an appointment to come see the vehicles on site. So we have all these 6 that we're gonna donate. They'll be all cleaned up, ready for view. So anybody interested from the public can come and see that. And that will be for 2 weeks. So we'll display that for 2 weeks for them to view. And our D will be also announced. And if you look at the timeline, it's all stated in there when they will be awarded, and by November, I believe 15. We're going to get rid of the vehicles. So on that, I'm open for any discussions.
Directors, one thing I would want to point out in Dr. Meany's report that I think was really appreciate the work that operations and our asset management folks have done in this. The thing, in addition to the fact that we are disposing of assets that are in need of that action and so forth, one of the things that I thought was particularly important is that premium savings that is described in your report with the vehicles that will be retired. We will be adding back into our budget close to $165,000 in what we currently cover in insurance cost that will not be necessary with the disposal of these vehicles. And of course, as Dr. Meany pointed out in his report, some of these vehicles are ones, though, that can still have some useful life in the community through the donation process. And that, I think this is also back to the things that both of you as directors, I'm not sure if Director Odell has joined too, but she also gives voice to this, is making sure that CAT is always undertaking measures and actions and activities that benefit the community. We are an integral part of the community, and this kind of activity is a part of that. So thank you also very much for your consideration of this. And as Dr. Manny indicated, we're open to any questions or comments that you may have.
Dr. Manny?
Yes, sir.
I know Director Robinson had asked the question before, but I want to make sure that we answer her question. She wanted to know if any employees or any directors, we were exempt from putting in an ask or request for any of those vehicles.
Yeah, we did. Good question. We did discuss this yesterday, and I would say we'll get back to you on that because it's a policy, and we have to go through Ms. Frey to decide if any employee or any board member can participate in this event. And so, give me a day or two, and I'll be kind enough to reach out to you.
Yeah, because I know that Dr. Robinson will probably raise that question again. We just wanted to make sure that we had an answer for her as it come up. Because I know it probably was going to come up again. I think this is our yearly
Yes.
disbursement of assets. Or is it yearly, or is it at the life of the equipment?
What was the question? You were breaking up. All I heard was the life of equipment. You don't mind to say that again?
Yes, sir. Is we delete a lot of our vehicles from stock yearly, or is it per the life of the equipment?
It's
at life.
Yeah, it's at the useful life of the equipment, Director. But what has happened here, the reason you're seeing a lot at one time is it's been a little bit since we've done a fleet management evaluation like this to identify any of the assets that would be eligible and that this should be an action that we would recommend. So that's why this one seems like a little larger perhaps than what you may have seen in the past. I would call this one a little bit of a cleanup. But then moving forward, you'll see it in a more measured way. But it should be annually, we should be looking at our fleet as a part of fleet management activities, identifying these resources, but they'll come up when they actually meet their useful life. But we should be undertaking an annual evaluation to know when that is.
And Director, if I may add also, the decision that we made was also done by the good of the vehicle, put it that way. So the 6 donation vehicles were vehicles that we think they have some life in them for to serve other purposes. It's just that we, by FTA regulations, they're over everything that requires a replacement. So out of the 15, the 6 that were selected were very good for donation that others can use for the community service and all that kind of stuff. So just to let you know on that.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Yeah, I will get that information. I have to talk with Ms. Frey and decide if employees or board members can participate in the donation bid. Give me a day or two to get back to you on that.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
I have a comment to make on 2 things. Number one, I think it's a very good idea to get those vehicles out of stock in order to save that money from the insurance. That's a good business movement. And number 2, I think it would be a conflict of interest for an employee or board member to get a vehicle through donations. And I'm very firm on that.
And that's why I want to get some information on that so that we can be legally in the right position.
Director,
Right. I think there's a
Directors
legal
Leggett,
issue and a moral issue there.
Directors Leggett and Lockett, what we will do on that is we will work with procurement, and we will reach out to our procurement leadership at FTA Region 4, as well as our attorneys, before we get back to you on a firm answer on that. So we will know, and I hear you loud and clear, Director Lockett, and I want to make sure that we are grounded firmly in. I suspect that your opinion may be mirrored in the federal process as well, but I want to make sure that we ask that question.
Okay. I just wanted to bring that up.
All right, if there are no more questions, I guess I'll proceed to my service delivery report, if that's okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now the slide pull up. Yeah. All right, so safety, security, and risk management. If you compare this data to last month, it's getting better. The rate of accidents, preventable accident has reduced. We had 1 mirror tap, 1 rear end, and 2 side swaps. Compared to last month, it was very high. So we're getting there. Training and also safety is involved in this aspect. Next slide, please. All right, training is ongoing. Ms. Frey's direction, we were able to have will and estate training, which is a key. Most institutions are doing that now. They're educating their employees about all this financial stuff that they have no even clue. So that was a very useful training about passing a will, estate, and also we did financial literacy. That's how to. I always say it's not how much you get, it's what you do with the money. So that was a very useful training. On the new highs, we had the CDL had 4 students, and at the time of signing the legal note for them to stay with us for 1 year, one of them decided he won't do it. So that's intent that he was going to use CAT and get his CDL and walk away. So we lost 1 on that aspect, which is fine. So now we got 3 in class, and to share with the board, we have a very large size of applicants, and so far we have about 10 or 11 for the next class, which is going to be August 28th. By then, all the 3 in class would have come out, and we'll see that outcome, and then I will also let the board know that the size of the class for the next one, which is August 28th. So far, we have applicants, and we're not even It's still 3 weeks away. So we're assuming we might have almost about 15 or more applicants that want to join the program. So that was useful. Next slide, please. Fixed route, we're holding on some data for this month. We promise you that next month we'll bring this data and inform you guys. We had some family issues and also data glitches and all that stuff. So the excuse is that we're sorry and we provide this in September reporting for the fixed route. Now on the paratransit side, like I said, the missed trip is getting better and better. It used to be hundreds and thousands, so this one is very good. If you compare this to the month of June, July went up a little higher. But then, if you look at the cancellation on the second, you're going to see that second line, it's almost 50% off. That means people that book right were able to pick them up and we didn't cancel compared to last month, which was very huge. So it's getting better. We're still understaffed. If you look at ridership compared to last month, it was a little low. And it's summertime. People are attending to all holidays and vacations. So it's typical when I compare this to 2 years, trying to compare data, month of July, it's always slow. That's when everybody's trying to get the summer break. So no any alarm on that. It'll come up again. Next slide, please. And I guess this slide is just the on-time performance is also low. We had some drivers, we're short of drivers now. We're close to getting our number, but it jumped up again. So the goal is that HR is doing a very incredible job. We might even have a class size of 10. And that will, if that do come true, we're only going to have 5 left to meet the standard of 32 drivers for paratransit. So I can't wait to see that day. But for the time being, because of manpower issues, the demand is there, but we couldn't go pick them up, and therefore we're not on time. Anytime you have short of staff, manpower issues, you're gonna have this kind of stuff. On-time performance is gonna be low because people cannot even get the bus out, and all this will be corrected. I'm hopeful for the next class, which is August 28th, we might have a class size of 10, and if that comes true, we only have 5 left, 5 drivers left to fulfill our promise. So that is a good thing. Next slide, please. The Marine, I think it's the best in all our transportation. Ridership is always higher. If you compare this to last month, it's about 6.4% higher. And there are no any other issues. Maybe Ms. Faye want to comment on the new boat, the rehab tender boat Marine. That way, it's not necessary. Okay, all right. So that's all we have from the Marine side.
Well, wait a minute, I tell you one thing I will comment on, not the rehab so much, but in this week's snapshot, I will be sure to include the latest photos. They're the photographic updates, progress updates we get on the 2 new ferries. They're actually really starting to look like vessels now. And we are incredibly excited about that. We do have our trip planned in November to have management go up and take a look at them in person and work on the finishes and so forth that will complete them out before we put these in operation next spring. So that is very exciting to know. And I do think that we are going to continue, in part because of the historical importance of the current naming of the vessels, and how that also plays in operating those vessels. Oftentimes, our marine services manager, the captains, and so forth will be passenger, who Mary Musgrove was, who was Susie King Taylor, what did Florence Morris do. A lot of people know Juliette Gordon Low because of the Girl Scouts. The others also have such great meaning in Savannah's history. And so I think where we are proceeding right now is that as the new come on, they will be honor of these ladies, but Susie King Taylor too, Mary Musgrove too, Florence Martis too, etc. So as new vessels replace the old ones, we'll keep that naming piece in place until at some point in the future we actually have a fifth vessel, a new vessel that would be out there, and then there'll be an opportunity for to memorialize another perhaps important figure or other very noteworthy person in Savannah's very rich history. So I just wanted to make mention of that. But the remarkable progress already on the vessels that you've supported making happen is well underway. Thank you, Dr. Manning.
You're welcome, Ms. Fay. Can I go to the next slide? All right. On the maintenance side, as you can see, Director Clinton asked that we break down the mean distance between vehicle failure, and we did that. If you look on the slide, the fixed route non-revenue, at least even though the vehicles are all old and over useful life, it was still able to pass that benchmark, which is 14,000. So we had 15,224 miles before any break, which is good. On the electric side, on the fixed route, you can see the difference, 17,901. And like I said, the national standard is 14,000. So anything more than 14 is good. With even our aging fleet, that is very good. And I kudos to the maintenance folks, constantly fixing everything that is broken. On the power transit side, the vehicles are old, but thank God we have these electric vehicles. They just joined, and we were able to put 5,382 miles on without any problem at all. The power transit non-EV, which is the gasoline, 54,780. This means that these vehicles are non-stop. We keep running them all the time. But all that will go out when we get our our gasoline new 10 vehicles that the board approved comes in, maybe the end of September, and that should be fine. That's all the report I have for maintenance. Any questions on that?
Comment.
Okay.
My comment is, first of all, I want to congratulate HR on that recruiting effort to get that many persons going into the training for drivers. And I also want to see, there was another effort that I mentioned I was thinking about during your report. Basically about the recruiting, and I want to just congratulate you on that.
Yeah.
And that's it, brother.
Sorry, go ahead, Director.
No, but I'm very impressed with the recruiting. That's all I was going to close it out with. The recruiting efforts.
Yeah, the new lady came on board and she's doing an incredible job. The fixed route, even the CDL training, and plus people with CDL, she's able to post it on Indeed and some website and got people responding. So at least we have a very good news there. I will discuss this with Ms. Faye, and if possible, we can present her at the next board meeting for board recognition.
One other thing I would mention related to that, that I think you all are going to be very pleased with, is I want to give some kudos to our comms team. They have developed are in process of developing a recruiting video that's going to feature across the board CAT talent, but as a part of calling on those in the community that also need to join our team and bring their broad range of expertise and talents. It's that while certainly we are recruiting operators, in order for the operators to do what they do, we also have to have accountants and communications professionals and maintenance staff and so forth. And so every piece and part of CAT is going to be featured in this recruitment video. I think you're really going to like it. It's going to be a little bit fun, but also a really, I think, good piece for CAT to continue to up our recruitment game, which we are working diligently on every day.
All right. If no questions, I'll go to my last slide. So on July 19th, we have a guest from Star Metro Transit Tallahassee came to visit us. Why they pick CAT? They said we are about the same size and they had all good things about CAT. So that was a privilege for me to show off what we have. So we kicked it off at ITC and then we ended up here at CAT Central. So you can see the pictures. They have every level, chief of staff, director of transportation, and Ms. Faye. They went to Ms. Faye's office, and Ms. Faye also told them about our future plans and what we're doing, and they really appreciate it. And they asked us to return the trip, so maybe we'll get our group together and go to Tallahassee for a visit. So I just want the board to know that we did have guests that came from Tallahassee, and we hosted them very well, and they were pleased with our service. Does anyone add anything on this? Okay. All right. So CAT connects us, as you all are aware, that we have grant to run a pilot program. That program kicked off last month. I had a team from paratransit and also customer service. We went out to every senior citizen housing. We did talk to them, and the survey shows that they want to go somewhere, Walmart, Kroger's. So we did design a route, and I talked to Ms. Scott about it. It's still in the draft process, and when this is done, I'll present it to Ms. Faye, and then, of course, to the board. So they were very pleased. It's going to be free of service. We're going to be running services Monday to Friday, and we're going to have 4 vehicles for this project that will take them from their housing to a Walmart shopping area and pick them up. It is going to run on the hour, pickup time, and then also half hour from the location, pretty much the shopping centers. And they were very, very happy. And so you want anything to add on that? No. Okay, so that is very good. It's what CAT wants to do to the community to let them know that we care. They were very, very, very pleased to hear that it's going to be free of service. The vehicles are already discussed. I'll finalize that with Ms. Carter and order the vehicles. And this project could kickstart most likely next month. Still in the draft process. And I want the board and the public to know about that. Any questions on that?
Yes, sir, Dr. Manning.
Yes, sir.
Is any of these initiatives that we're talking about, are they included in our CAT app?
Our CAT app, there will be when it's, like I said, it's in the draft process. I went there, literally kind of draw the map, the route, and talk to the people, and we map where they want to go. So when the draft is ready, I'll present to Ms. Faye, and the board will see it before we even made it public.
Yeah, Mr.
Very
Massimo.
good.
Mr. Massimo. Also, I think that the CAT app is a jewel. I think we probably need to do a little more marketing so we can reach a lot more people. A lot of people know about it because we speak about it a lot. But I think that we need to try to find a way to get it out to more people so they do know that there is an app, especially for the people who use these different bus routes more regular than anybody else, that they know what's happening with them. So whoever came up with that idea was an awesome jewel for us. And being able to extend across the city for different people, they've been asking for this for a long time. So pat yourselves on the back. Awesome job.
Thank you for that suggestion, Director, and we will certainly follow up on it to make sure that we market it even more strongly. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so let me wrap this up very quickly. So the CDA program that I talked about, initially was 4 students. 1 didn't sign a legal document, so he dropped off, and now we have 3. and we have almost about 10 by the end of, before the class. We are assuming that it might be about 15 students. We did interview some training coordinators, and I'll let HR handle that. If we're lucky enough, we might have a coordinator, and if that happens, we can do a class size of 10. That means every student, every instructor will have 5, 6, or even more. When that comes, I will share that with the board. So the CDL training that we talked about a long time ago is kicked off, it's in the process. We have more people lined up for the next class, August 28th. On the power transit side, we have new operators. We might be done with if we're lucky enough, we might be done with applicants. I would say by the end of the month. We now short 15 drivers. We got almost about 11 applicants, and we're not even there yet. That class starts August 21st. So I'm assuming that there are more applicants in a way, and we'll let you know. I can't wait to see that day that we have all full staff for paratransit. The fleet-wise, since our charging infrastructure is not in place yet, we're using the level 3 charges, which is the electric charges that we use for the fixed route buses. We're using that also for the power transit charges. So what we're doing is we're running all the 10 vehicles on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. And every day in between is when, because it's slow charging, because we have to use the charger for both fixed route and power transit. And also 3 of our chargers were down. So that's why we took that measures. I'd rather have the public see the vehicles out than to just have them sit until we got our infrastructure going. So this is the only means we can do that, charge all one day and take them all out the next day. So that is ongoing, and it's really helping out. Last item on my division update, the service enhancement. So we have proposed a restructuring where it's going to be a bus communication center. We're going to monitor manpower, all KPIs, complaints. We just had a meeting about complaints. All complaints could be as many as 1,000. The question is, which of them are valid? So with the BCC, we can monitor and see everything that's going on to see what is a valid complaint and what is not. And then also, we're going to be holding what I call town hall meetings with all the drivers, talk to them about how passionate they should be about not passing people up and have the courtesy to pick them up. If all this is put in place, it's going to enhance our system. The quality of service is very great. That defines the service we provide. But this is all the stuff that have to be together. So we're also going to be placing a supervisor at the ITC. The supervisor's role is pretty much customer service and also everything fixed route. Monitor the drivers to leave on time. And also, if there are any questions about route, that person will be knowledgeable to help the public. And that's the end of my presentation. If anybody have any questions, I'm available for those questions.
I thought of one other item that we should share with you. The ITB invitation to bid went out last week for the ferry maintenance facility and for the that dock extension on the west side. So just know that those invitations to bid are out. So again, more progress in that part of CATS fleet, in addition to all of the other information that Dr. Manny has shared over the whole operations group today.
Thank you, Mr. Massimo. Do we have any old and new business? Anything else here?
Not from my end.
We don't have any other old or new business under proposed business by other committees. I'll just briefly run through these for the benefit of the membership of this committee. Under the Financial Services Audit and Compliance Committee, the Legislative Advocacy Service Contract Award is still pending report. We are just completing, procurement is completing the compilation of the rankings. So that will be to use shortly. The Planning and Infrastructure Development, we have been conducting in addition to the master transit plan that you recently adopted and the COA TDP work, we're going to be meeting with the board on August the 15th at 3 p.m. in work session to go over, as a part of the COA TDP work, while you're not formally required to adopt that, you are required to approve and adopt the Title VI analysis. So I want to talk for just give you a little snippet of that. We'll be digging into that much more deeply. This is a very important topic and really important to the future of CAT, both our current conditions and the future of CAT. We want to be sure that that work session gives the board real opportunity to dig into it and understand it prior to any board action. But service reduction since FY19, we've reduced overall revenue hours by rather alarming 41%, and that was by cutting trips, lengthening headways, and so forth. And that was necessitated, just like every other transit system in the country saw, the tremendous impact that COVID had on all sorts of things across the country, including transit, and then the continued bus operator shortages after that. We had to not only take actions during that period of time that COVID was active and we were seeing those impacts, but subsequent to that, again, that ongoing operator shortages and so forth were giving us such dramatically unreliable service, and that was really important to CAT and that we course correct for that. So that's kind of where we were, a little bit still of where we are. And then you have to remember that CAT's service area, minority populations represent 72% of CAT's riders, and low-income riders with household incomes less than $50,000 represent 80% of CAT's riders. So any time that we take these kinds of actions, it ultimately is going to have those kind of Title VI impacts for those populations. Here's the good news now. So we certainly have had our share of, just like every transit system in the country, of those impacts to struggle with. But in evaluating the transit service performance with equity and these incremental service improvements that we've been making and that you've been seeing in board meetings that we've talked about, some of the things we've done with the first ever fare-free expansion outside of downtown into Carver Village and Cloverdale neighborhoods, expansion up to Victory, with some of the things we're doing now with the proposed micro transit in that East Savannah area, and that'll again be a fare-free zone. Also, just some of the other work we're doing to align with the schools, as we've talked about earlier, to make sure that we are addressing areas that both need us the most and areas of opportunity where we can get people connected to jobs. What you're going to see in those recommendations of that short-term COA TDP, and what you've already seen in some measure in the master transit plan, is a more frequent service network that we begin building out in this year and through 2024 and beyond, with 30-minute weekday frequency in all the areas where we can grow that well. And what that will do is, compared to these where we've been and those numbers we mentioned earlier, families in poverty within a third of a mile of frequent transit service will increase by 59%. Minority populations within a third of a mile of frequent transit service will increase by 71%. Households without access to an automobile within a third of a mile will increase by 29%. And jobs within a third of a mile of frequent transit service will increase by an incredible 221%. So that is why things like Master Transit Plan, the COA TDP work are so important, because the Title VI component of what we do, that equity lens that we put on everything, that is our conscience and our heartbeat of the service that we provide in reaching those who need us the most, and also in reaching the larger community to grow CAT in a very successful way. So while we do certainly, what you're going to hear in that Title VI equity analysis is some numbers that are going to be a bit alarming in terms of where we've been and a little bit of where we still are. Our future is incredibly bright, and we're already moving toward it, whether that's with success in competitive grant funding opportunities, partnerships, and so forth, and just the expansion of service that we can begin to move forward and that you're seeing. So that'll be a conversation in the Planning and Infrastructure Development Committee. And then under executive governance, the property and indemnity liability and hull coverage, the marine insurance, the reason it is still pending report is, as you've seen in the past with other insurance we have, oftentimes our insurance broker, Sterling Seacrest, you know, those negotiations to get us to the very best coverage for the very best price, they go right up to sort of the end of the day, so to speak. So that is what is happening there, is they're still shopping and looking for the very best deal for us in that very important marine insurance place. So again, our apologies for the tardiness of that and being a pending report. But we're a little bit driven by where the broker is in terms of marketing our opportunity. So that is all of the proposed business for action by other committees to give you a little bit of a snapshot of in this committee meeting as well.
Thank you so much, Mr. Massimo. Do you have anything, Director Lockett?
No.
Anything else? Anything else, Mr. Dr. Manning?
No, I think I've done enough. I've explained a lot. So if you don't have any questions for me yet, I think I'm good.
Well, I want to thank each and every one of you for such detailed reports. It helps us out a lot when we have to have conversations with the community and go back to our to our leadership. It helps us out a lot to be able to explain it in a better way than people will understand it in the boardroom. So thank you. And we come to the end of this meeting. Our next board meeting will be 8/22/2023. And that's our regular board meeting. So we'll see each other soon. I adjourn this meeting.
Thank you, directors.
Thank you.